She flinched when I reached for her. Not dramatically, not like in a movie. Just a quick little twitch of her shoulder, like my touch disgusted her. Like my fingertips were made of needles. I pulled my hand back. We stood there in the kitchen, facing opposite ends of a shared silence that had been growing roots for months. She didn't even look up from the sink. She just muttered, "Don't hug me now. Not now. Not later. Just, don't hug me now." Cold. Hollow. Final. The garbage disposal hummed in the background. A fork clinked against a plate. Something inside me cracked so quietly I almost missed it. So I nodded. Not that she saw. And I walked out the front door without my keys, without my wallet, without anything but the clothes I slept in. I didn't even tie my shoes. I walked 4 blocks before I realized it was raining. Or maybe I realized it earlier and didn't care. I didn't answer when she texted an hour later. "Where did you go?" Didn't reply when she called 3 times that night. I went completely still. I became a ghost in my own life. And the next morning, when she woke up to an empty bed, no coffee made, and my phone still on the charger, she started to panic. Really panic. And what she did next, that's when the betrayal story begins. She didn't call again that night. She waited until 6:12 the next morning. I watched the screen light up from across the room, heard the pathetic little buzz of my phone vibrating against the hardwood floor. I didn't move. I just lay there on the mattress in my brother's basement, staring at the ceiling like I was waiting for it to collapse on top of me. The text came next. "Where are you?" No punctuation in the first one, but this time, 2 question marks. That was progress. I didn't reply. See, the thing about disappearing is that you don't have to go far. You just have to leave behind the version of yourself they think they own. And I did that. Completely. The man who apologized for breathing too loud, who waited by the door like a dog when she was late, who texted just checking in when she didn't answer. That man stayed behind in that house with the flickering porch light and the woman who told him not to hug her. I spent the whole day doing nothing. And yet it was the most alive I'd felt in years. That evening, I finally drove back. Not to talk. Not to go back. I just wanted to see. To know. The house looked normal. Her car was in the driveway. Lights were on. But when I stepped onto the porch, I saw the front door was slightly cracked open. Not like she forgot to close it. Like she wanted me to come in. I did. The first thing I noticed was the silence. Not peaceful silence. The kind that makes your chest tighten, like the house is holding its breath. Her purse was on the table. Shoes by the door. She was home. I walked down the hallway, past the gallery of fake candid wedding photos, past the little shelf where her reed diffuser always smelled like cucumber mint. Only now it smelled like dust and wood and something burnt. Our bedroom door was open. The bed was unmade. Her side still warm. But she wasn't there. I walked into the bathroom, turned on the light, and stared at the sink. 2 toothbrushes, mine and hers, still standing in the same chipped ceramic cup. I picked up mine. The bristles were bone dry. I hadn't used it in 2 days. She hadn't moved it. She hadn't touched it. She was pretending I never left. And that's when I realized this wasn't panic. This was control. She wasn't scared I was gone. She was pretending I never existed. And that terrified me more than anything she could have screamed. I stood in that bathroom for a solid 5 minutes, toothbrush in hand, staring at myself in the mirror. The overhead light buzzed, that cheap fluorescent kind that makes your skin look like week-old deli meat. I looked awful. Pale, bag-eyed, pathetic. The kind of man who gets told, "Don't hug me now," and actually listens. Then I heard it. Her voice. From down the hall. "Oh, hey." She called out like she'd just noticed I'd returned from a grocery run. I didn't respond. I put the toothbrush back and slowly stepped into the hallway. She was in the kitchen, casually slicing a cucumber, wearing one of my hoodies like nothing was wrong. Like I hadn't disappeared for 36 hours. Like I didn't leave my phone, ghost her, vanish off the face of the earth. She didn't flinch when I walked in. Didn't even look surprised. She just glanced over and said, "You forgot to take the trash out yesterday. It smelled awful." Yesterday? Yesterday? I stared at her like she was speaking in tongues. "I've been gone," I said slowly. "I didn't sleep here. I haven't even seen you since Tuesday morning." She didn't even pause her chopping. "Yeah, I know. But the trash still needed to go out." That was it. No, where were you? No, are you okay? Just a reminder that I'd failed at my one, tiny, domestic duty in her eyes. I started to laugh. The kind of laughter that only happens when you're one bad thought away from a full meltdown. You're seriously talking about garbage right now? She looked up then. Finally. Her eyes were perfectly blank, like a clean sheet of printer paper. Clark, I'm not in the mood for one of your spirals. Either you're here or you're not. But I don't have the energy to babysit your feelings tonight. I felt something icy crawl up the back of my neck. This wasn't attachment. It wasn't indifference. It was rewriting. She was acting like I had never left at all, as if she'd deliberately pressed erase on everything that had happened. It was like being gaslit by someone who wasn't even trying to hide it. I watched her walk to the fridge, pour herself a glass of wine, and sit at the table like we were mid-conversation from a show I'd never seen. So I tested her. I walked to the bedroom, opened the closet, and yanked open the bottom drawer of my dresser. It was full. All of my clothes, folded. Socks, underwear, even the faded t-shirt I only wear when I'm depressed, neatly stacked like someone had just Marie Kondo'd my trauma. She had done laundry. She'd done my laundry. While I was gone. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because she asked me to. She didn't say a word. She just walked into our bedroom, closed the door, and turned off the light without ever asking me where I'd been. And as I lay there staring at the ceiling, something horrifying settled into my chest. She wasn't worried I'd left. She was confident I'd come crawling back. And worse, it felt like this had happened before. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there on the couch, staring at the slatted shadows from the blinds, wondering if I was going insane, or if she was. Maybe both. My back ached, my neck stiffened into a permanent crook, and every hour that passed without her checking on me twisted a new knot into my gut. Not because I wanted her to care. Not anymore. But because I couldn't shake the feeling that I was living in someone else's memory, like I'd been inserted into a story she already finished writing. By 5 a.m., I'd had enough. I needed answers. I needed something real, something I could hold on to before I slipped into that familiar pit of self-doubt where everything starts to feel like your fault. So I did something I'd never done in 7 years of marriage, not even when she started coming home late or laughing too hard at work memes from Julian. I checked her phone. It was sitting face down on her nightstand, screen still dim, silently charging next to her glass of half-drunk water. I crept into the room like a criminal, moving slow, trying not to breathe too loud. She was asleep, sprawled diagonally across the bed like she owned the air in it. For a second, I hesitated, not out of guilt, but out of instinct. Something felt wrong, like I wasn't just invading her privacy, I was stepping into a trap. But curiosity always outweighs fear when you've been emotionally starved long enough. I picked up the phone. It wasn't locked. No passcode. No Face ID. Just open. She'd turned off every lock screen security setting. And I instantly knew why. She wanted me to look. Her messages were clean. Scrubbed. I mean pristine. No text to Julian. Nothing suspicious in her recent calls. No social media DMs. It was like scrolling through a demo phone at a store. Sterile. Soulless, boring. I almost put it down. Almost. Until I saw the Notes app. There were only 3 entries. The first 2 were basic, a grocery list, a saved Wi-Fi password. The third one was titled, simply, Clark. My chest thudded like someone had just knocked on it from the inside. I tapped it open. And that's when I knew I wasn't just being ignored, dismissed, or rewritten. I was being studied. The note was a running log. A list of dates, behaviors, my exact words during arguments. Times I cried. Times I left. Times I didn't answer her questions fast enough. There were literal bullet points, like she was compiling a profile. March 2nd, cried after I said, we're drifting. Watched him pace for 9 minutes. April 12th, disappeared for the night. Left phone. Did not escalate. Returned. May 9th, repeated, are you even listening to me? 4 times. Avoidance spiral. Next entry, current. Left again. Left phone again. Pattern holds. My vision blurred. My thumb hovered over the screen, trembling, stupid. I scrolled further. There were predictions. If he disappears again, I'll test how long it takes before he caves. No contact from me. If he returns, reinforce routine. Show no reaction. Normalize silence. Recenter control. I nearly dropped the phone. She wasn't confused. She wasn't lost. She was tracking me, manipulating my actions like I was a lab rat, seeing how far I'd run and how fast I'd crawl back. And I had walked right into it. I set the phone down carefully, quietly. My hands were ice. My stomach felt hollow, like it had caved in around some black hole of humiliation. And when I turned to leave the room, I looked back just once. She was awake, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, smiling. I didn't go back to the couch. I couldn't. After what I read in that note, after seeing her laying there, eyes wide open, face frozen in that awful half-smile, I knew I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't pretend this was miscommunication or emotional distance or even infidelity. No, this was something else. Something more calculated, more clinical. So I sat in the hallway, right outside the bedroom door. Not because I was scared she'd hurt me. That wasn't her style. Dahlia didn't yell. She didn't throw plates or slam doors. Her violence was passive, elegant, a kind of psychological starvation that left no bruises but all the same scars. I sat there for almost an hour, staring at the floorboards, thinking about every strange little moment over the last 6 months that I'd brushed off as just tension. The way she never answered direct questions anymore. The way she started referring to things I'd done in a tone that made me question if I'd ever done them. The way I always apologized first, even when she was the one who'd left the house crying at midnight. Then I remembered something. A smell. There was this candle. In the hallway bathroom. I first noticed it last week when I went in to grab tissues. It smelled like rosemary and leather. Expensive, foreign, definitely not something we'd ever bought. I figured maybe she picked it up at one of those boutique shops she wandered into on her solo Saturdays, and I didn't mention it. But now, after everything else, I needed to see it again. I got up slowly, legs stiff, and walked to the bathroom down the hall. There it was. Still burning, even at 3:30 in the morning. A little black candle in a thick frosted glass with a silver lid resting beside it. The label was half scratched, but I could still read the name, Bruno and Fitch, Midnight Loft. I Googled it on my phone. It was a men's luxury candle. $85. Sold exclusively through a store in Baltimore. We don't live in Baltimore. I opened the medicine cabinet. New cologne. Not mine. A beard comb. Not mine. And then I saw it. A toothbrush. Blue handle. Firm bristles. Tucked behind the Q-tips. Also not mine. My blood turned to static. I stared at it, hoping, praying, that somehow there was a logical explanation. A visiting cousin. A house guest I'd forgotten about. A neighbor borrowing the shower during a pipe repair. Anything. But I knew. In my bones, I knew. This wasn't just emotional control. It wasn't just psychological warfare. She was seeing someone. And he'd been in our house. But the worst part? The part that shattered me so completely, I almost vomited right there in the sink. She'd left it there on purpose. Just like the unlocked phone. Just like the passive logbook in the Notes app. Just like the casual smile when she knew I'd be watching her sleep. She was baiting me. She wanted me to find these things. She wanted me to break. Because when I finally confronted her, and I would, she wanted to be ready. She wanted to look calm, collected, superior. And she wanted to watch me collapse. But I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. Not yet. The next morning, I made pancakes. Not frozen. Real ones. From scratch. Whisked the batter. Added blueberries. I even cut a banana into those annoying little crescent moons the way she used to like. I made coffee exactly how she drinks it. Oat milk, half a teaspoon of brown sugar, not stirred until after the first sip. I did it all without saying a word. She walked into the kitchen at 7:43 a.m. sharp, wearing one of her cropped gym hoodies and a fresh face of makeup. I watched her pause for half a second when she saw the food, just a flicker of hesitation. Then she smiled. Fake. Sharp. Like a politician greeting a rival at a charity gala. You cooked, she said, like it was a threat. I nodded. Thought you might want breakfast before your Zoom with Julian. That landed. She blinked. She never told me who was on her Zoom calls. Her voice faltered just slightly. It's not with him today. I shrugged. Right. She sat. Ate. Barely. I washed her hands. How she tapped her spoon. How she rearranged the napkin like it was a puzzle she couldn't solve. I knew what was happening. She was waiting for the explosion. The confrontation. The big monologue where I asked whose toothbrush it was, why the candle smelled like a stranger, whether she accidentally added his Spotify account to our smart speaker last week. She was ready for the war. But I gave her peace. Unsettling, controlled peace. And it unraveled her. That afternoon, I started cleaning the garage. Loudly. Deliberately. I wanted her to hear it through the walls while she sat in her curated little office corner, pretending to work. I wanted her to feel me organizing chaos. Reclaiming space. I hadn't touched the garage in years. It had become her storage closet, full of boxes she never opened but wouldn't let me throw out. Wedding decorations, old journals, half-finished crafts from when she was finding herself. I found something, though. Something she probably forgot existed. A small red notebook, tucked into the bottom of a plastic bin labeled seasonal decor. Inside, pages and pages of handwritten letters. Not addressed to me, not even dated. Just lines like, "I don't think I'll ever feel fire for him again. It's like living with a shadow that won't leave. I dream about the way your hands used to shake after. I wish they still did. He doesn't see me. He only remembers me." Every line was a dagger. Every line confirmed what I already suspected, that she hadn't been mine for a long, long time. But what chilled me was the handwriting. It didn't look like hers. It was too stiff, too neat, almost like she'd been copying something. Then I flipped to the back. Taped inside was a photo, 2 wine glasses, a lit candle, the same candle from the hallway, and a man's hand, big, tan, veiny, resting over hers. No faces, no names, but the timestamp on the photo said 2:14 a.m. A Thursday. I remember that night. I'd had food poisoning. She said she stayed with her sister because she couldn't sleep through the sounds I was making. I never questioned it. I do now. I didn't say a word about what I found. Instead, I made dinner. Again. And when she came home, smelling like citrus cologne that I knew wasn't mine, she smiled and said, "You're really turning into a housewife." I smiled back and said, "Maybe you bring out the domestic in me." And her eye twitched, just barely, like the smallest crack in her perfect little performance. I went to bed early, not because I was tired, but because I wanted her to wonder what I knew. Because now, the game was mine. By the time Sunday came, the silence between us wasn't empty anymore. It was strategic. Every word she didn't say was calculated. Every word I didn't say was a test. We were dancing in opposite directions around the same room, pretending the air between us wasn't getting heavier by the hour. She tried to bait me twice that morning. First, by casually leaving her phone screen up on the counter with a text preview from E.M. that said, "You were amazing Thursday. I still smell you." I didn't touch it, didn't flinch, just poured my coffee and asked if she wanted oat or almond milk in hers. She blinked, said almond, stirred it with the wrong hand. Then, while folding laundry, she held up one of my shirts and asked, "Did you ever wear this on that trip to your mom's?" We both knew I'd never taken that shirt to my mom's. We both knew what she was doing. She wanted me to accuse her, to explode, to demand answers and make her the victim. "Why were you going through my stuff? You're being paranoid again. I can't live like this." I'd seen that play before. I'd played that part before. But not this time. I just said no, too tight in the shoulders, and went back to matching socks like I didn't feel my ribcage folding in on itself. Later that night, I took it further. I left the front door unlocked. On purpose. Just cracked enough to suggest carelessness. I turned off the alarm system. I turned off the porch light. Then I went to bed and waited. I didn't sleep. Just lay there under the sheets listening for every creak, every whisper of movement. At 1:26 a.m., I heard her get up. Heard the floorboards sigh under her feet. Heard the front door open. Heard it close. I didn't follow her. I didn't need to. She was gone for 43 minutes. When she returned, she moved quietly, tiptoed into the bathroom, brushed her teeth, slipped into bed. Not a word, not a breath out of place. But she didn't know I'd placed a tiny piece of white thread across the top of the front door, just between the frame and the lock. In the morning, it was gone. She'd opened the door. She'd lied with her body, her eyes, her silence. And now, finally, I had proof I'd orchestrated myself. I didn't confront her. I made eggs. I kissed her cheek when I passed. I asked if she wanted to watch a movie that night. That afternoon, I called a locksmith. That evening, while she was at yoga, I changed every lock in the house. I boxed up her clothes, her chargers, her little collection of French skincare products she guarded like gold. I folded it all neatly, labeled the boxes, left them in the garage. Then I printed a photo, the one from the red notebook, the hand over hers, the wine glasses, the timestamp, and I taped it to the fridge. Nothing else. No note, no text, no warning. She came home at 10:07 p.m. I was sitting in the living room, lights off, door locked. She tried the handle. It didn't turn. She knocked once. Then again. Then, "Clark? What the hell?" I didn't answer. Just sat there in the dark, sipping tea, staring at the photo I'd already memorized. She banged louder. Then silence. And then I heard her footsteps retreat, fast. I got up, opened the front door. The thread was gone again. But this time, I had removed it. Because now, the trap was mine. She didn't come back that night. She must have realized the locks were changed. Maybe she assumed I'd call, that I'd yell, that I'd throw her things onto the lawn and demand closure. But I didn't do any of that. I slept. Like, really slept. For the first time in what felt like years, I didn't wake up in a sweat. I didn't check my phone. I didn't lie awake wondering if I was enough, if I was too much, if I was somehow the reason everything between us had slowly rotted from the inside out. I woke up to sunlight, birds, and the quiet hum of the fridge. No fights, no tests, no calculations, just peace. By noon, she was calling again. 6 missed calls, 3 voicemails, all of them starting with "Clark, we need to talk," and ending with "This is crazy." But none of it sounded angry. None of it even sounded hurt. What I heard, underneath it all, was something new. Panic. Not because she missed me, because she'd lost control. And once she knew I wasn't going to respond, she escalated. Emails. Messages to my brother. Even an old college friend I hadn't spoken to in a decade suddenly texted me saying, "Hey man, Dahlia's looking for you, you okay?" I didn't respond. Instead, I went to the beach. Alone. I brought a notebook, one of those thick ones with the soft cover and pages that feel like fabric. I sat on the sand, listened to the waves, and for once, I didn't feel like a mistake wearing clothes. I wrote down every lie I'd believed. Every apology I gave when I was the one who needed healing. Every moment I had twisted myself smaller to fit into her shrinking version of love. And then I closed the notebook. And I let the past stay on those pages. It's been 2 months since then. The divorce papers were filed without a single meeting. I didn't ask for anything. No revenge. No money. No apology. I didn't need it. What I got was worth more. I got myself back. I moved to a small rental house upstate. Nothing fancy. 1 bedroom, creaky floorboards, a little deck that overlooks a grove of trees that turn gold in the fall. There's no shared closet, no silence filled with subtext, no toothbrush in the wrong drawer. I wake up early. I walk every morning before work. I've started painting again, badly, but with joy. I even adopted a dog from the local shelter. His name's Peanut. He's deaf in one ear and follows me around like I'm his whole world. Last week, I laughed so hard at something stupid on TV that I actually startled myself. Because it wasn't nervous laughter. It wasn't performative. It was real. She still texts sometimes. Nothing angry now. Just question marks. Long messages with no punctuation and too many ellipses. I don't block her. I don't respond either. I just let her words fall into the void, like mine did for years. Some nights I lie in bed and think about how easy it is to forget the sound of someone's voice when all they ever did was use it to shrink you. And sometimes, I think about that morning when she said, "Don't hug me now." And I smile. Because I didn't. And I never will again.